Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. And middle of, off-season for football? We have media day starting. Then we have World Cup finally ending, which I don't want to say finally because it gave me something to do. Because now my entire feed is randomly Summer League stuff for the NBA. And I really don't understand. Maybe it's the draw of the college players. Because I saw my boy Yaxel, Michigan national champ, he won the Summer League or something, which I didn't even know was a thing. I guess, is it all rookies? Or is it like, because the one guy I thought was playing looked like he was 40 years old. He was bald. So do they just have like certain criteria for you to play in the Summer League? It's almost like
Summer League and random people that they want to try out.
Yeah, because it's
maybe it could be you.
When's the last time that ESPN promoted like a minor league baseball champion? Right? Like I know the Durham Bulls won a couple of championships. I don't remember one time ESPN like promoting them or having them on ESPN. For ESPN to just be showing, and I know they're in bed with the NBA, so it doesn't really matter, but for them to just be showing Summer League highlights, I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Because half their stuff is NBA and then WNBA, and I know we talked about Caitlin Clark like a week or two ago. I'm not going to bring it up again. But having that battle for like, oh, we're going to have all of these ratings things. And then I look at the ratings and they're still getting like 1 million or 2 people, but that's not really a lot compared to like college football. And so that's why when the World Cup came out and they were like hammering as like the number 2 in the United States sporting event. And then the SEC media days come out and they said, we're the second most watched product behind the NFL. Like, no, buddy, the World Cup just crushed your ratings. And trying to like throw out a lot of the Big Ten numbers, like, okay, yeah, some of the SEC games are that big, but SEC doesn't get the numbers of what Ohio State and Michigan get. Maybe like one time when Auburn and Alabama were like that good that they beat them. But every year, Michigan and Ohio State is the highest rated game until the playoffs. And now with the playoffs, like if the SEC is not in it, like last year, guess what? It was the ACC and the Big Ten had the highest game with Indiana and Miami. So the SEC like bragging about random like averages for the regular season, like, okay, buddy, cool. But if you look at like the top rated events, like you're not in there. You're not in there. Next year it's going to be Super Bowl. I don't know about the playoff games because it depends where the World Cup came in. Then you're going to have a bunch of World Cup games mixed in with NFL playoff games. And then you're going to have like the college football championship game and then random bowl games, which maybe Ole Miss was in one of them. Like one of the highest ranked ones. I guess whenever Indiana's beating down Bama, do people tune in for that? I don't know. I don't even know what...
Well, I would think they had the... As Ole Miss went on their run, I think they had to have had one of those ranked games.
Well, they had to. If they were in the Final Four. Who did Indiana play? I don't even remember. It wasn't another SEC team, was it? They beat Bama. I think that was the round of 8. And then I don't know who ended up playing. It wasn't Notre Dame. No, Notre Dame missed the playoff, and then they threw a fit and cried. And didn't even play in a bowl game.
Didn't even play.
And now I see them being ranked high, and they're like, oh, Notre Dame's schedule, awesome. And I thought, great. Their schedule is like one game. They have the same problem that the Big 12 has, where, yeah, the Big 12 is kind of in the old mix where the old Big 10 was, where it was like Ohio State, and then you had a huge gap, and then you had like Penn State and Michigan, and like Michigan State and Wisconsin, like some teams battling. And that's not a good recipe for success. Once the Big Ten kind of leveled up, and anyone can argue and say like, oh, no, you didn't. Like, no, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, 3 different champs in 3 different years. That's leveling up. ACC hasn't done that. Big 12 definitely hasn't done that. The SEC has had 2 teams recently. Maybe you could throw in like the LSU year as kind of adjacent to the Georgia and Alabama, but those are the only 2 conferences that have had multiple teams win in like a short span. And I think that shows where the depth of the leagues are. And that's why I do like the expanded playoff. Because like if Pitt goes all the way through and wins the ACC, how do you know they're not going to get hot? We've seen where a hot quarterback winning the Heisman or doing whatever can come out and get stuff done. And if you have the best quarterback like Clemson had for a couple of years, and maybe you don't have 5 stars all across the board, but having a guy that's accurate and able to make plays, that's a big deal. And that's why I kind of hate, I like the transfer portal, but I saw a graphic, I don't know if you saw this, where it said, like, most of the national championship participants in the last couple of years have been transfer quarterbacks. Like Mendoza, transfer. Will Howard, transfer. Penix, transfer. Riley Leonard lost to Ohio State, transfer. Carson Beck lost for Miami last year, transfer. And to me, that's setting like a bad precedent. And that's kind of what they said Miami. I think I saw it on an interview or something with the new Miami quarterback that transferred from Duke. And he said, like, at the end of the day, when they show a graphic and it's like the only quarterback like recently that was like developed was kind of like JJ or what was the quarterback from Georgia that they had? I guess Alabama had a couple, right, that didn't transfer, like Joe Burrow, transfer. And then you have to go all the way back to like Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, right? Because Alabama had their guys like Hurts, they push him out and even transfer. So you had like Tua. But since the NIL era, man, you're just looking at getting a transfer quarterback. Because like Penix in Washington is like, to me, the gold standard for a lot of these teams. You get a guy that fits your system, that he was at Indiana, crazy to think, who would transfer from a national champ to Washington. But this is before Indiana hit the scene, baby. Penix transfers to Washington, and Washington's not pulling in 105 stars. So they're in the mold of every other mid-major team, like Pitt, James Franklin's Virginia Tech now. Like NC State, I hear they're hyping up their quarterback. Not a transfer, they're developing him. If he doesn't actually deliver this year for NC State, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up transferring to one of the big boys. And that is what kind of hurts, where everyone laughs at how Michigan threw money at Underwood. But if you can get a quarterback, even if you have to develop him for a few years, because I would hate for him to transfer like his junior or senior year and then take a huge leap. Because a lot of these guys that are transferring, they weren't starting. Right? Look at all the hype Sorsby got. He wasn't starting when he was gambling. And so that's why they were trying to track down and say, like, when did he start gambling? When did he start doing this? And, I mean, bad decision on his part. So, if I want to get the expanded playoff, I think you want to expand, and I still want to include all the conferences because it seems to be the talk of media days right now. Do you expand to 24 teams? I think yes, and the worst thing right now is that there's no precedent to include all conference champs. And if I'm from them smaller conferences, I still don't know why they don't band together and say, let us play a play-in round. And then however many conferences are there, do 6 auto bids. Right? Where the other smaller teams, they do like their own play-in to get the last 3 conference champs that are in. However you want to like pitch it to the network. But it's kind of like, what do they call it for basketball? The first 4? And now they're going to expand even more for basketball, so it's going to be even crazier. But you can't tell me that they're not thinking that, we can get all these guys eliminated in this first round. Right? For football, you got to get invited to the table. So you say, hey, we want to play the other group of 5 or whatever they call each other. Do 6, right? Add the Pac-12 in there and then tell the Pac-12, like, do you guys want to be included at all? Right? You have a group of 6, have them playing, and then you have 3 teams, plus you have the Power 4, so you get 7 auto bids. And then at 24 teams or whatever the actual playoff starts, the rest are at large. I think that would work. And then if you add those 3 teams in, then you have a weird 27-team playoff. But in reality, who cares? If people don't want to watch those, I still say have them start early, the small conferences, and have their playing games be the same weekend as the conference championships. Now, if they get rid of the conference championships, I don't know what you do schedule-wise. And I guess we'll have to wait and see what the 2014 playoff is. But I want to see all conferences represented because I know working in higher ed, I see small conferences kind of like doing adjunct and stuff too, where like in East Carolina down here, 100% they should have an opportunity. Right now, for them to even make the playoffs is a miracle. If they win their conference, they should be in. I don't care what the rest of the schedule is. And if the one team that's going to complain about that, Notre Dame, dude, there's so many at-larges now that it shouldn't even matter. I mean, we know you're losing to Northern Illinois and all these other Marshall. Like, we know they're tough games for you guys. But in reality, don't cut out all the other schools. Because to me, that is one segment where you can grow from a viewership.
Well, we've always made it a point on this show. The bottom line to all this is win your games. If you win your games with the expanded playoff format at this point, there's no way that the bias is going to get you. Like I feel like you can expand it as far as you want at this point, but I think they've corrected for the route that the snub of the Florida State team. That's going to be corrected so that there's no way that any future team, if you are undefeated and you're a conference champ, you're not getting left out of the playoffs. Like, that's just not happening. The people that are going to be disappointed are going to be the people like Notre Dame that lose a game, or if you're in Alabama that you're on the bubble and you lose an early season game to Florida State and then they implode later in the year. Like that's a bad loss that you don't deserve to get in. Like, I'm sorry. If you lose those games, it should be a fact. It shouldn't be, well, you're playing in the SEC. No, hey, win your conference, and then maybe you have a leg to stand on if you have a bad loss somewhere along the way.
And it does look like there's 10 conferences now, counting the new Pac-12 that came back. Because I knew there was like 5, group of 5 or whatever. So now you have 6, because there's no way they're including the Pac-12 with the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC. And I know the ACC is kind of like, they weren't really pushing for champs, but you really don't want to get into a year like that one Coastal year where everyone could have been the champ like 2 weeks left in the season and then know that, hey, our games are kind of meaningless, right? Or like last year with BYU losing the conference championship game. Yeah, we want to expand to include them. But what if you have a team like Duke last year? They win the ACC. Now the ACC is talking about how they're going to change their rules, where it's like head-to-head still matters. And I'm like, but then you're going to go by the ranking? Right? You're just going to kind of pick which team you want in there? But there's still a chance where a team could schedule hard non-conference. Like, let's say Pitt throws in like Penn State, and then what if they go crazy and then like put like Ohio State or something on their schedule, and they lose both those, and then they win the SEC like going, or ACC going like whatever 9-1 in conference, and then they have 3 losses. They could be on the bubble or worse. And then if they lose the championship game, they're out. But even if they win it, like let's say they drop 2 games in the conference, you can still win as like a 3-loss conference champ. It's happened. That's how Duke lost or won last year. So what are you going to do?
But you said the magic phrase. Like, I don't care how many losses you have. As long as you, at the end of the year, have 5 losses, have 6, don't even have a winning record. But if you win your conference, whatever your criteria is, if you are the conference champion, that gets you a seat at the table. That absolves a lot of sins. Because you can say what you want about whatever scenario for teams, but the fact of the matter is, if you can't win your conference, then you don't earn any right to complain about playoff seeding. And I think you look at it the same way. Like, say you're undefeated and then you lose the conference championship. Well, that's why we have the at-large bids, because depending on how you played in your conference championship, that should factor in. And if you're undefeated, like whatever year that was, where Georgia had a run and then didn't win the championship, it's like, okay, if you're going to say they're the at-large, then so be it.
Yeah, that was the Michigan year, right? Because then they ended up playing Florida State in like the almost game. And that was the one where it expanded right after. But again, you're playing in. That's why the smaller teams, what was it, SMU coach? I think it was him, right? Where he was saying that it doesn't matter, like the 4th or 5th best ACC team should still get in over the other smaller conference. Like, okay, you're not planning on including them anyway. Like, you're letting one of them get in. Where right now they should just band together. And I don't think they want to lock it in, right? Like, I don't think they want to have every year as a playoff play-in, like the MAC plays American Conference or something, because you never know when like a Boise's going to rise up, and then they're just keeping the other conference out every year. And you're like, well, this is our Gonzaga basketball, right? Where this at large is actually for real. And then they're in there. But instead, let them battle it out. Let it rotate. Let it go by strength of record or whatever. Because the big thing that people are going to argue with me on is like the schedule then. These conferences only have 10 members. Like 10, 9. I think Sunbelt's the biggest with 14. And so you can pretty much play a round robin conference schedule. Like Conference USA has 10. They could balance it out where they play 9 games, 2 non-conference, then they have their own conference championship game. That's the 12th game. Do it like the Big Ten did. Remember that COVID thing, the proposal? That's what I'll call it. Where instead of having the last conference game set, you do like a strength matchup where if you have 2 teams that are like undefeated or like a rematch, that last week you make sure that they play. Conference USA really wouldn't have to do that because you would play everybody. So you would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. But a team like the MAC, where you have 12 teams, you're not going to be able to do a round robin and then have your money-making games, right, playing up. So just have the last week be a flex. The week before Thanksgiving, flex it. And then the Thanksgiving weekend, when everyone else is playing, you do your play-in playoff game. And if a team's at large, like whatever the threshold is, because I think that's where they're going to get into like an argument. But say like you have an undefeated team, you work it out where you're not going to be in the play-in game then. Or whatever like that, because you know how they do the college football playoff ranking. Like if you have a conference champ that's already going to be in the playoff because they're ranked above 14 or whatever it would be, 16, then that team automatically gets a pass and they don't have to play in the play-in week and they'd get a bye as like a bonus. Would be my thing, because I think that's going to be few and far between, right? Where the teams are going to be ranked that high, because typically they're going to play and get to whatever. Last year we had like a couple, but they were ranked lower. I'm going to look it up. Regular season, what was it, college football rankings? Because I don't know if you're really going to have a full list. You had JMU. They were 12th. Tulane was 11. But in reality, JMU was 24th. North Texas was 25th. And then Tulane was 20th. So I think if they have a hard line, because you can't tell me they're not doing it. They're doing it for Notre Dame, right? If Notre Dame's above number 12, then they're automatically in. Isn't that the new rule?
I think.
So why can't you have, if you're a group of 6 and you're ranked above 16, you get to skip you get a bye, like you get an extra bye. And then you're already in the playoff. Because last year you would have had no one make it. So then you would have had, that's a pretty good slate, dude. If you had a Thanksgiving weekend where like Tulane's playing North Texas or whatever, they might be from the same conference. I don't know off the top of my head. But like James Madison, Tulane, like they have a play-in game instead of playing in the first round of the playoffs and then getting smoked. You have them play each other. And then you can't say, well, they didn't deserve to be in. They're like, no, they did everything they asked. They beat the other top team. And now they get to play like Oklahoma or someone, whatever like the actual bracket then goes in. And then if they stay hot, because I think that's one of the keys. Teams, I think the bye weeks kind of hurt in college football because it's expanded another week. Where some teams have like, oh, you get the bye, but you didn't play in your conference championship game? Like, didn't that happen to Ohio State? Then they come out flat. Because like Indiana had the head-to-head tiebreaker on them or whatever. That one year, or Oregon. No, Oregon had lost. So maybe I'm not thinking it. Or did Oregon not get in like this year? I can't remember who they played. Right? Because like the one year Penn State played in it. And then the bye week was like the decider. So maybe having the younger, or not the younger team, but like the lower group of 6 team have an extra week. They might come in ready to go. Heck, I didn't even know Michigan. I forgot we were ranked 18th. Bro, can you imagine? Before I get into the World Cup, I might as well bring up the Michigan news. So the report came out. It didn't come out yet, right? But it was a review on the athletic department, which I hate talking about Michigan in the offseason. This story's been going on. It's given our podcast something to talk about 3 years, 4 years now. Since the national,
it's like every year. It's like Georgia gets in trouble for driving. Michigan just can't help themselves without some kind of scandal.
And so, I hopefully this is the end of it, right? And I know why they're making the move, because I saw a lot of things where it was like, these are all the scandals. And some of them are like coaches drunk driving. That has nothing to do with the athletic director. Let's be real. Because like you said, you brought up Georgia. If you count all of their arrest issues, they have way more than what Michigan had. 100%. But it's kind of what is under the purview of the athletic director. And we've both said it. I mean, I'm honest like with it. The way they were slow to act, that's pretty much what's getting him. I guess he's not really even forced out. That's the one thing that kind of stinks. So Michigan, for people that don't know, they hired a new president. He got like brain cancer. So he had to step down. So Michigan has an interim president that's trying to work through and put this out as Michigan's working through with 2 brand new coaches in the biggest 2 programs in the school. So I really don't think they were going to fire Warde right now. It just would be kind of weird timing. If they wanted to fire him, I looked through the report and I really don't know what you could say that he did that would be fireable. I know some Michigan fans are going to disagree with me on this, but looking back, maybe some of the COVID stuff. I mean, he gave Harbaugh that contract cut, which kind of motivated him, right? I think you got to give him part credit for that national championship. What other school AD is giving their head football coach a pay cut and saying, like, prove it? Like, you want to go to the NFL? Go get a job. And then he didn't get a job. He couldn't get one because he was stinking. Right? So then he brings in and then he hires all NFL guys. And so you got to give him credit part for that push. Right? Because up until that time, Harbaugh had originally brought in NFL guys. And then he went back and got like Don Brown. And he was hiring some other college guys trying to like... I don't know if he was trying to like kind of mold back into the college coaching thing. When he fired Don Brown and brought in all NFL guys, and I mean, that's pretty much proved by the fact of, yeah, the first defensive coordinator he hired just won the Super Bowl as a head coach. Yeah, he brought in some pretty good coaches. And if the AD could have kept him, I think making him take a pay cut pretty much burnt the bridge. It's going to be hard being like, hey, good job. You finally won. Now we'll give you a contract. Right? No, of course he's going to leave. So, and the Harbaugh thing was kind of a mess. Harbaugh wasn't even meeting with the NCAA. That's the other thing. I think if Harbaugh would have met with them, the punishment wouldn't have been as harsh. But because Harbaugh skipped and went to the NFL and they were like, hey, can you take a break from the Chargers and like come in here and interview? And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I got to win some football games. All right. I don't know how you can blame the AD on that one. Just bad timing. But the Sherrone Moore one, I think that's where you have to, and that's where they have to get rid of him. Because you hired him, didn't really do a search, right? Maybe he did, and it was more in like the shadows. But you elevate a first-time coach. And then I don't know if the paper trail's there, but there's a rumor that the paper trail shows that he knew Sherrone was struggling. He really should have fired him after the first year. I don't care if he had a miracle win over Ohio State. I don't care if he had a top 5 recruiting class or whatever. That's what I don't know. I think I brought up that the rumor that the report showed, because like they had all the stuff that he was going through. I think I brought in that they said that he offered Dillingham. I've also read that that's not true now. And so I don't know if Dillingham was floating that out again about trying to get like a raise, but I don't think that's actually in the report. So I apologize for bringing that up like a week or two ago. So I want to see the full report to kind of see what happens. I mean, truth be told, did you see the new contract for our basketball coach? Because he definitely learned from his mistakes. So the new one, did I send it to you? Trying to look and see. Yeah. So right now, after the Sherrone Moore incident, he did the same thing. Dusty May leaves. It's kind of in the off season, right? Because like NFL and NBA hire like later than college basketball. I don't know if he sent out feelers. Hopefully he did. Promoted the assistant in. But in the contract this time, he has specific things that he has to meet. He cannot have any NCAA violations. No,
he cannot be following OnlyFans.
No misconduct of the policies or rules. And everyone has to be eligible. Like no academic misconduct either. Then he has to hit 2 of, I think there's 4 things here. He has to hit 2 of these. He has to have 24 regular season wins and either a top 4 finish in the Big Ten, a conference tournament title, or a Sweet 16 appearance. But if he doesn't hit those, he has to get to the Final Four. So like, imagine you're like, all right, I'm fired, right? You're not ranked. You're like, you didn't win the Big Ten. You didn't win the tournament. And then the NCAA tournament starts and you're like, I got to make the Final Four. Like you're going to be coaching for your job, dude. Right? It could go either. It depends on how the coach reacts, right? Fight or flight. Is he going to be so nervous that it's over? Or is he going to try to just dial down and say, like, we're going to make it a run. We're going to be the underdog, like crazy team. Because that's the one thing. Sherrone was handed a top 5 defense based on NFL draft picks, right? They didn't really show up until the Ohio State game. And that Ohio State team won the national championship. Michigan very easily could have been a contender, but you have a first-year coach, he makes mistakes. This basketball team, Michigan has a roster that's easily top 5 or top 10, probably top 5. And you don't want to blow that, right? I think it's hard to get another coach to come in and abandon his guys when like summer workouts have started. And even though like the lineup looks great, I think you still have with the NIL stuff, next year you can say, hey, look at our roster. And you can bring some of your own guys in. I think you have a little bit more flexibility if it doesn't work out. But again, the timing is going to be weird. If he makes it all the way to the tournament and he does make a run, let's say he makes it to the Elite 8, doesn't hit any of his benchmarks, does Michigan really fire him? Like, so close to Final Four, losing the Elite 8. I mean, that's what Juwan Howard did. I think he made the Elite 8 his first year, and then it was all downhill after that. So maybe with the new AD, who knows? AD is going to probably want to bring in his own guys.
Well, maybe it gives them enough wiggle room that they can push them out if they want to, or they're like, well, it was close. We're willing to ride it out with you.
And I see a lot of people that are saying that, well, this proves that Michigan has like more skeletons in the closet or whatever, and he has to stay on for a year so that they can like hit a certain buyout. I haven't seen anything about his contract saying that if he gets a bigger buyout or whatever, if he stays later. I really think there's just no real solid leadership yet, because it seems like the interim does not want to be president. And what do? The president's probably going to want to bring in his own guys. You bring in an athletic president, who knows? Maybe they don't even have it. Maybe they don't even get an athletic type president, and they're just 100% focused on academics, and they don't care. But then they want to have, okay, I'm not involved, but I want to get like so-and-so to be my athletic director. They're going to want to pick that replacement. So I really think that's why there's a delay. And the benefit with that is the guy that you're letting hang around has won like 4 national championships recently. I think men and women's gymnastics, basketball and football off the top of my head. There might be more, I can't remember. But that's a pretty good run for the past couple years of just winning national champs when some schools can't even get one. Right? So let alone even compete. And that, and even if you just zoom out and you just see football and basketball, that's so insane that not only a handful of schools have ever done that ever. So for one athletic director, I wouldn't be surprised if another school takes a crack at him. Because before that, I think we got him from UConn when they won a basketball national championship. I think he hired Ollie, didn't he? It didn't work out long term, right? He got the national championship though. So he has multiple national championships, and he did it at 2 different schools. How many other schools wouldn't be salivating over that as your AD?
Yeah.
And he's on the college football committee. He's like doing all the NCAA things, even though people at Michigan, like, it drives us nuts. But if you're in with the NCAA and you're following by their book, and in reality, you're really not getting the school any penalties, I guarantee some other school is going to take a crack. Because, like, you're not telling me, like, if Miami took a backseat and they're like, you know what? This guy, he comes in, he's like, I can win you national championships. They don't care. Oregon would probably love it. They haven't won anything. I guarantee a lot of schools, if you sit back and tell their alums that are making fun of Michigan right now, Texas Tech, I can think of a handful of schools that have been close, that if you're like, you know what? I got just enough contacts where I can get you some, like, I can do the NIL stuff. I got everything in here. Want to win a national championship? What sport you want? He seems to be better at basketball, right? Not going to lie. Harbaugh kind of fell into his lap. He was already here, I think. But how many schools like really love basketball and then can't compete in it? Kentucky? Watch them pop up there and win a national championship. Kansas? I can name a bunch of them. Right? So that's my update on that. I don't want to talk about it like the whole show. I don't even know what else to say. I wish it would happen a couple of years ago. I think his biggest mistake is not ending the Signgate stuff. Like I said, I think I brought this up previously. NCAA had precedent. It was only a half game suspension for the coach. Harbaugh's COVID thing, I think, kind of colored it for him, where he was trying to do multiple Harbaugh suspensions, where in reality, he should have just shut it down, fired Connor Stallions like he did, and then washed his hands, or put Connor Stallions on it, like leave, whatever. The Chris Partridge thing, because now he put a lawsuit out there throwing a bunch of stuff that was like kind of speculated, and they're saying like maybe he has proof, maybe he doesn't. Put him on indefinite leave, bring him back after everyone was cleared. And then it's not even a scandal. People say maybe Michigan doesn't win the national championship without the adversity. Maybe not. I don't know. But at least it's not a 3-year story. Because we're talking about 2026 right now. And that's the one thing that everyone's talking about. So if he would have been able to end that story, I don't even know if he gets pushed out, to be honest. Because they said in the report, the only negative thing right now is that he's been slow to act. And that's pretty much regarded like the Sharon Moore thing, where maybe he should have been put on leave. If some of the rumors about what coaches are saying about like they were reporting it and asking for assistance and they didn't get it because he was looking into it, then yeah. But until the full report comes out, we don't know. So some of the stuff I saw that leaked out was pretty funny, but we'll wait and see if it gets corroborated before I bring it up. Anything else you want to add on that? Any college football stuff either?
The only college football thing that I saw pop up recently was there were some people speculating about how hot the seat is for Norvell and the possibility of could Jimbo Fisher come back. And I feel like at this point, with the speculations that are out there, and he kind of put a big push out that was like, I recruited at a high level when there was no money involved. Imagine what I'm dealing with if in this current era where you can recruit and pay for players.
Yeah, but he did that at A&M.
Well, that was kind of the direction I was going to go with it. Is that I think I'm curious to see how much the influence with Herman's going to go this year. And I do think that with what they've brought in and as far as transfer portal stuff, I think is setting the table for a potential surprising start to the year for Florida State. So we'll see soon enough here as they're coming in. But there was already the hot topics of trying to figure out who's the hot board for potential replacements. It's like, how about we just try to win some games and maybe not avoid this situation altogether?
Well, I do know that there's a lot of heat down here because I know some Clemson fans that this could be a crazy year with Dabo too, also feeling the pressure. And so do both teams, because the ACC could in reality have Miami, Florida State, and Clemson all make a push. And then at that point, even if the Big Ten doesn't win a national championship, if you go 3 Big Ten and then one of the ACC teams breaks through, and then next year, like another Big Ten or ACC teams, how far removed does it take for the SEC media narrative to start really getting pushed out? Because like I see them bringing up Auburn, and they make fun of Florida State, but then they're like, Auburn's still good, though. Auburn hasn't had an undefeated season recently. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't, in hindsight, you can't go back to... It reminds me of like teams that are throwing USC in the Big Ten under the bus, where they're like, USC, they never really broke through. They're not that good.
Well, the irony in all this is that Florida State has a conference championship yet to boot in this Mara. Like, there's not many people of recent note that have that credential. And
that's where I really want to kind of get ahead. And I know we're not going to be able to just have a grassroots thing to get ahead of it. But the one thing that I know that the SEC is really trying to push is they really want to keep the BCS championship games tied to the college football playoff, where I'm 100%. I know this kind of hurts Florida State, but I'm of the mindset that the playoff should be the cutoff, right? You shouldn't have BCS games included because there's more controversy. The only year that was really controversial in the playoff era was the UCF year. And I've been on record on the show talking about how the college football playoff, it should be like the NCAA tournament, where everyone talks about how many national championships do you have. You want to claim a Helms banner, Kansas, to make yourself feel better? Go for it. Like UCF, you want to claim I don't even know what you would call it. Like whatever name they want to give it. Heck, name it after like some legendary coach. Name it like the Mike Leach Trophy. where you have any pre-playoff national championship. UCF can claim one. Michigan doesn't have theirs get picked. Like, oh, no, we didn't pick that one. Or like, hey, we're going to let Alabama or Notre Dame claim this one after they got boat raced in their bowl game. And that really shouldn't count that because they had 2 losses. It's like, all right, you want to claim it? Claim it. But no, everyone's going to laugh at you. And they only want to hear the playoff. And then, again, this kind of resets it for any other conference, too, because they're going to say, well, we did win a national championship back in like 1922. Like, okay, but what are you doing now? Right? Like, you bringing up like A&M's like national championship that no one was alive for. A&M hasn't been good in our lifetime. They're not good. Like, your point, they didn't win a conference championship. Not that I know. I don't think A&M has ever won a conference championship in my lifetime. So you can't bring them in and say, well, that's an SEC power, Matt, because they have money. You can throw money around, but you got to win. I think we brought in that the college football like World Cup thing where it had like A&M as United States, and you brought it in where it's like, yeah, United States gets the hype, has the fans, has the money, and they can't get it done. And it makes sense. And I think it even makes more sense whenever Spain was picked as Michigan and won the World Cup. That makes a lot of sense. Very on brand for Michigan to win championships now. Maybe Spain has some controversies. I don't know. I don't follow the World Cup that close. But
and it also just doesn't. It's interesting at this point that Michigan's winning these championships and they're constantly involved in some kind of scandal. Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
Is anyone going to remember? That's what we got to think about, right? In 10 years, will people remember that our AD had an investigation? Who knows? Probably not. I know, looking at the map here, in the playoff era, there's only been, let me make sure I get my math right so people can't count. 7 teams, 3 Big Ten, 3 SEC, and Clemson. So you have Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. That's pretty much a clean slate. Now that you have the expanded playoff, where an undefeated champ like Florida State should never get left out again. I don't want you to go back and bring in the BCS championships when there are teams like undefeated Auburn, and I know I've been making fun of Auburn, but like that 03 Auburn team was pretty good. You had that one USC team that didn't make it for whatever reason. They probably would have hammered whatever SEC team won it that year, if it was even an SEC team. And so let it start fresh. You have a great cutoff. It's the same thing as what the NCAA tournament did. 20 years from now, we should have a pretty good mix if it keeps going the way it's going. You might add Miami this year. You could add Notre Dame back in. Who knows? I don't even know what the other top ranked teams are. You could get another Ohio State in. Maybe another like young quarterback comes in and starts kicking butt. Maybe Texas Tech breaks through. And I think that's why like a team like Texas, they're never going to vote for starting with this because they didn't win one yet. Right? They're not going to want to give up their BCS championship. But in reality, I think they should just all be set behind. And it should just be this. And if Texas can't win one now, oh well. A&M, no difference. Like Ole Miss was the one I think that was also claiming like some 1930s championship during their playoff run last year. Okay, claim it if you want. But we're going to only talk about your playoff record from now on. Whatever the record is, that's it. If you don't get in, does this have a percentage in here? Yeah, they do. So like the highest percentage team is going to be like Alabama right now, and then Ohio State winning as a clip. Clemson has a good record. What do we have? Like Michigan's 500, Notre Dame's 500. Indiana's, why didn't it rank by that? Indiana has the best actually, but maybe because it's doing by appearance first. All right, Indiana, highest winning percentage. They only had 1 year. They had they had 2 years. They had one championship run. So like that could swing it in anybody's favor. You have a good mix of teams that have made the playoff, including some of the smaller ones. And yeah, there have been a couple of big brands that haven't made it yet. That's perfectly fine. But what I'm saying as part of my argument here is I don't want fans and other media members making fun of teams like Nebraska for not making the playoffs and not being successful, whenever you have other schools from other conferences like Auburn that gets added to a strength of schedule every year when it's been, 12 years of playoffs and they haven't made it one time. So you can't tell me that that's a tough team to schedule. I'm going to do a quick count here. SEC has 8 teams that have made it? If I'm right, the Big Ten has had 7. Is there really that much of a difference? ACC has had 4 with Florida State and SMU, and then the Big 12 has had 4. Other conferences have only had 1. And that's the new conference thing here. Like they have Washington in the Big Ten and Boise State in the Pac-12. So you have a pretty good mix. And those teams didn't win it. But to me, it's more like the college basketball thing now, where some schools, their goal, because I keep getting asked from people like NC State related or other schools that are saying like, why would I watch college football? Like we have no chance of winning. You got to reset. It's like basketball where teams are like, our goal is a Sweet 16. At NC State, your goal should be making the playoffs. Anything on top of that is gravy. And then if you make the playoffs a few years and maybe go on a run, heck, you could even pull in Indiana, win a national championship. Then that could reset your expectations where now Indiana's expectations for this year are probably winning it. I would think. Right? Cignetti, national championship coach. If someone's like, we'll just be happy to win 9 games like Indiana used to be. Okay. Awesome. But I don't think they're going to go back to that until Cignetti leaves. And that's what I want to see. Some of the SEC teams probably shouldn't have made the playoffs. Right? I mean, maybe they would have had less teams. Maybe another Big Ten team will make it in. Because like I'm looking through the list here. I'm trying to see which teams haven't made it. But there are some big brands that haven't made it. USC I brought up. They're not on here. What from the SEC? Like Auburn hasn't made it. None, like Virginia Tech hasn't made it from the ACC. None of the Big East teams have made it beside Miami, right? So that conference is killing it in some of the BCS areas. They haven't done anything. I guess Cincinnati would have been one. And maybe TCU. Were they in the Big East at one point? Who knows? That's what I want to see. Expand the playoffs, let everybody in, and then use the college football playoff as the barometer. Once you get more teams in, then the NIL will get spread out. I've said it all along. No booster, looking at you, A&M, is going to keep paying if your team doesn't win. There's no way you're going to have a booster that just keeps throwing money at you. That would be insanity. Unless they have nothing else better to do and it's just like a write-off for them. But even then, you're going to want some type of results. Right?
One would think.
I mean, that's why Miami has been having like their changeover. Heck, that could be a push between like why Michigan's having some of their changeover. I mean, Dusty leaving isn't going to be a reason, but for football, like after Harbaugh, like having some of the pressure on Sharon for not winning, not making the playoffs when they have a big payroll. Yeah, that's probably going to be it. Same with like Notre Dame. They're recruiting like gangbusters right now. Their schedule is so soft. If they miss the playoff again, you can't tell me that the heat won't be on Freeman. Don't be surprised if he starts actually looking at the NFL when they said that was just a rumor before. But I know I kept going wrong college football. Do you think that every team should get in? Or every conference should have an auto bid?
Yeah. I mean, I said from the get-go, I'm okay with it just even being conference champs. And then that makes the regular season games more meaningful. And it makes having a conference champion. Like, I think it dilutes some of the pool when you go, well, this team deserves to be in because according to video games, they're the best team. Win your games.
And I think it's going to be the one thing that a lot of people complain about is the expansion. It's going to be the driving factor for some of these teams not to make the jump. Right? The Big Ten's looking to expand. yeah, they might pull in like a Miami or a Florida State or Clemson, whatever they want. And the SEC is going to kind of fill in with some other big time teams. But for a reason like teams joining the ACC right now, like SMU making that jump, you can't tell me that if SMU was on a 5-year run winning, what conference were they in before? The AAC or something, the American? Like if they were on a 5-year run making the playoffs 5 years in a row, winning that conference, do they take the buyout to the ACC and then say, like, you could become Virginia Tech, right, and have nothing? It's going to be a scarier proposition when your team's in, like a Boise State right now. They had been jumping up because they knew in the BCS they had to go undefeated or they weren't getting in. Now that they're in this new Pac-12, which is basically like a souped-up Mountain West, are they going to really try to jump into the Big 12 when they might just be the Pac-12's rep for 8 years in a row? Right? Why would Gonzaga like make a jump and try to join some other crazy new conference? I don't know if they have, but that was the push where they're trying to get them to join. Did they join the Pac-12? Yeah, so they joined the Pac-12, but the big push that they were trying to do was they wanted to get them into like the Big 12 is what I heard. And why would Gonzaga go into a conference that has Kansas and like Arizona and all these other schools right now where in the past, they're used to being the top dog? In this rebuilt Pac-12, yeah, they should still be the top dog. It's Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, and Texas State. A bunch of state schools. Gonzaga should continue to be a powerhouse, like, not going to lie. And now they should get more money doing it. For them to join the Big 12, though, as just a basketball member, that's a harder sell for me, because if you join and you don't make the tournament because now your regular season is harder, no one's going to remember you. You become like some of those Big East schools that were competing, like a Virginia Tech. I keep bringing them up. They were in the national championship game with Mike Vick. They can't even make the ACC championship game, really. Like, they hit hard times. Syracuse, Boston College. People don't even remember that they're in college football.
Yeah, Miami.
Miami hasn't made the ACC championship game. They bought their way around it, though. Right? They're like, we'll just go to the real national championship game. That's why it would have been hilarious if they would have won. And it's funnier that they lost to Indiana, of course, because like Indiana, no one. I would have bet $1 million before that Indiana would have won a national championship in my lifetime. Obviously would have lost, right? Because I thought there's no way they're competing. Because I saw someone say, oh yeah, you guys can make fun of like Auburn. I think Florida was the other one. Yeah, Florida hasn't made the playoff either. And they're like, but you would guarantee that you wouldn't want Michigan to play a night game at Florida or Auburn over like Purdue. And okay, maybe you're right. But you're still basing that off of what? Old Florida? Because I think recently Michigan's like 4-1 against Florida or whatever it is head to head. We're not losing to Florida, guys. Whether you want to believe it or not. Purdue, we probably have the same record against Purdue. Like, they probably have one win on us too. I don't know what to tell you. Right? So let's go for it. Have it be there. And yeah, maybe that would be a little bit tougher of a game. But didn't Penn State like beat Auburn? Maybe they lost to them. I can't remember. But Penn State had that game against Auburn. At least one, maybe two. And Michigan's been, and Ohio State have been playing Texas and Oklahoma. That was kind of, I don't know if that was like an old Big 12 type deal. But that's probably going to go away. So that's all I have. I don't want to keep talking about college football. I know I'm getting excited. SEC Media Day is really getting to me. Because it's like the propaganda time. That's why it was hilarious that all the SEC media guys were complaining that the Michigan announced that report right during their press conference. Did you see that?
I didn't see that was when it dropped, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they planned it out. So now everyone's been talking about Michigan, and the SEC media have been so mad because they were like, they had to do that on purpose because it was rumored to come out like last Thursday. And then everyone was like, they're going to drop it on Friday right before the World Cup Championship, right? And no, they waited until after the World Cup, but right during SEC media days, which is even funnier because it's like one of the top stories on ESPN. Let's go and look and see what the top story is right now. Oh, FIFA World Cup, Michigan's number 3. So you got 2 soccer stories and then Michigan. And then it gets into the SEC, number 4. It's so sad. A conference that used to be considered the best in college football can't even beat a weird athletic director story. Sad. But let's go to the World Cup here before I wrap up. I watched the whole World Cup. Not every game, right? I'm not that sick. It's not college football. Am I right? Or even NFL playoffs or something. Fantasy. I didn't have a fantasy guy in. I liked the product, of course. I've always liked the World Cup. I like the watch parties. Went to some watch parties.
Wasn't a better World Cup because it was in America?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I've seen people say that why don't we host it more often? And I do think that we have the space. It's kind of like when they could host it in Europe, but now they're putting all the teams in like 1 or 2 countries because I don't like how they split it. Not going to lie. I know that they had to do it to get it back to the United States, but did we really need to have Canada and Mexico involved? Especially the Mexican games because of the heat there in the middle of July. And I know Mexico hosted it before in like the 70s or whatever. Okay. Yeah, but they're saying that the earth temperature's rising. So they really could find another way to host it. The United States has a nice, good mix of climates. Like if you wanted them all out in the Pacific Northwest, like, okay, out in like Seattle, wherever they had some games, like you could do that. The Olympics in 2 years, I think their soccer games, at least some of them are in Nashville. Not really in the heat, right? I mean, I guess it's going to be hot, but it's like you're not doing it in Florida. You're not doing it like in Arizona with like a dry heat. So adding in the hydration breaks, to me, that's kind of common sense. The games still aren't that long. They have the timer on. They add the extra time. Even the final game, I think the only extra time was like 4 minutes. And that's with the hydration break because there wasn't a lot of like stupid penalties because the teams were afraid to get their guys kicked out. And then it happened anyway. So to me, one thing that I think I'm surprised that they don't change is you have the red card, right? Your team goes down to 10 men. And then it's over. Like there was no chance for Argentina, right? I would have liked to see, and again, this is just as American watching it. I would have liked to see them after the first goal. If it was like hockey, right? I don't want them to put a time on it where you get a red card and you get like a 10-minute penalty. No, like keep it red card and your guy stays off. But if the other team scores, then you should be able to put your guy back in. You have a sub, right? How much more exciting would that have been if the end of the game you get to watch if Spain pulls a England or their England is what they were. I didn't know what they called themselves. I was thinking UK, but they pull in England where they're just like, we're going to stand around our goal and be scared and let them kick the ball at us 100 times to see if they can tie it. And I'm like, oh, horrible strategy, guys. And then their manager doubled down. I don't know if you saw that, where he said, it was the right call. We scored 1 goal. We were so shocked that we scored on Argentina. We were scared. So we put all our guys in the box and we just kind of waited there and let them blast like 20 shots at us. And I'm like, at least do something, right? You were winning. Like you had the power. Your guys looked faster and you subbed out and put all these defenders in. And then let our like Messi just dribble around. Because that's the one thing too. Not watching a lot of soccer, Messi was by far the best player in the World Cup. I know he didn't win the Golden Boot, But you can't tell me that Argentina's team was loaded. Right? He almost had Argentina win the World Cup against a couple of loaded European teams or whatever. Like, I know Spain wasn't really scoring a lot of goals, and they're winning like 1-0, and they only gave up one goal, and Argentina didn't even score on them. But Argentina could have had a fluke goal. The only thing that really stopped that was the penalty where they had the red card. And that's what made me think of it, is like, okay, Spain scores, they go up, it's in extras. Let Argentina put another guy back on. Right? Then if it goes to penalty shots, that's even better, right? Could you imagine what the hype would be? That's my only improvement, I think. Oh, other than the flopping, which I've talked to a lot of fans. You know, I went to the game. I gave the recap on that. But talking to other fans, every fan I talk to, they complain about the other team flopping. Watching as an independent, every team is flopping, right? You can't say every team like watching the final, went to a watch party, right? And you hear the Argentinian fans complaining that all Spain is doing is flopping. Then you go and hear the Spain fans complain that only Argentina is flopping. And I'm like, guys, you're both flopping. It's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch, and they know it because they flop. Then they look at the official. The official gives them like the hand signal, and then they stop flopping immediately. And to me,
thing that I saw with the coverage was that they're saying like people from the NFL were trying to propose it's a safer field. It's like the NFL looked at there's a player injured in every minute of the World Cup game, so there's no evidence that it's safer on grass.
Well, but that's just BS from the NFL. They know that the grass is a better surface. They just don't want to spend the money. The injuries are ridiculous. I don't know if you watch. The other NFL thing that I want them to do is the replay, which I don't know if it's true. Could have been an AI thing. But apparently the players wear like a vest. Kind of looks like a training bra, to be honest, dude. That has the GPS tracker in for that system. So that they know if the player is offsides. Not in the NFL, does it really matter where the player is? No. You only need to know where the ball is. So if they can track 22 dudes, I think it's 11 on each side, they can track 22 dudes to see if they're running offsides, and the NFL can't track a ball to see if it makes a first down or a touchdown, that's a problem. And the other thing too is they have that like with the sensor in the ball to know if it's been touched. I don't know if you'd need that for the NFL. But perfect. Get some replay, get some better grass fields out there. I mean, it looks better. The players aren't like, maybe it slows them down a little bit. I don't know. Does that really matter in the NFL? We might get some more plays instead of like just big plays where dudes are breaking free and running. I don't know. But I did like that. I like their replay kind of. It seemed like every time there was a big play, they went right to the replay. They had like the digital versions of where the guys were if they were offsides or whatever. In the NFL, yeah, you could do like an offsides type thing maybe, right? If a guy goes offsides, they whistle it in, but that's kind of ridiculous. Because do you need that? I don't know. I'm more worried about the first down, though. Because we've seen so many controversial first downs going back to the Michigan-Ohio State one. If that could make it to college, that would be a lifesaver. Because the officials don't know, right? But I've seen some people call for the World Cup to be more frequent. 4 years is kind of okay, right? It's split up with the Olympics, for people that don't know. Now, is Olympic soccer as big? No. But if you want the World Cup every other year, you have to stop playing Olympic soccer. And then the World Cup becomes the gold medal. Right? So they get a World Cup trophy and a gold medal every other year. But then if you win it in the off year, you don't get the gold medal. Right? I don't know how you can do it and not have it unless you just drop soccer out of the Olympics. I mean, they're putting weird stuff in the Olympics, so does it really matter at this point? That would be, I mean, honestly, if they did it every other year, that'd be awesome. But isn't it, I thought it was supposed to line up with the Winter Olympics. Do we have Winter Olympics this year? Or are they still on a weird COVID schedule?
I thought that they were coming.
Did it already happen? Oh, it already did happen. Yeah, we came in second. That's right. See, it's already forgettable for me. I don't know. Because the way it goes now, the next one will be 2028 Summer Olympics. It's in the United States again. Well, yeah, I don't know how often it's in the United States. But it's another thing where the United States has so many countries, or in so many cities, that are kind of spread out. It makes sense to host a lot of travel. Yeah, there's some other countries that could do it too. Like, I don't think you should have it in the United States every year. Because, like, it would be cool to have it in some of the bigger ones. I am surprised that they don't get the bids. Because, like, let's see what the future World Cup locations, it's going to be in, what? Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So you have 2 European and 1 African. Isn't Morocco? Yeah, that would be considered Africa, right? And then next time, then, wait, did they have every other year in South America? I don't know what that is. So then in 2034, it's going to be in Saudi Arabia, which that's the first time they're in there. Did they even play in the tournament? I mean, I guess they do, right?
Are they allowed?
I don't know. So then you have that one there because it was just in Qatar. That's why it's kind of weird that, like, other countries are more known for travel, but it's not there. And who knows? I would like to go. It would be cool to go to Spain. Not going to lie. If, like, you're able to go there. So the Winter Olympics were in Italy this year. Summer Games are in LA. The next one in 2030 for the winter is in the French Alps. Then in 2032, it's in Australia. And then the Winter Olympics is back in the United States for Utah. Australia would be cool. I don't know if I would travel to go see the Olympics, though. Right? I mean, some of the bigger sports, like, am I going to go watch them, like, play flag football? No. I'm not going to do that. I would watch them go play soccer. I'm hoping to go catch a game in the United States, probably more in Nashville instead of going to Los Angeles, because I really don't. To me, the Olympics really isn't a spectator sport. You can argue with me if you want. But, like, I've been to track and field events. A lot of stuff going on. If you have, like, ADHD, how are you supposed to pay attention to what you're doing? Right? Some of the other ones, like softball, like, cool, yeah, awesome. Put that on. But put it in the United States, don't put it in the United States. I like the World Cup the way it's been. I hope the United States can get more development in. I think they were negotiating with their coach to come back. I don't know if they made a decision yet. I did like his style. So if the United States really wanted to put together a youth academy style and send it out to all the coaches, everyone listen, long-time listeners know that I was a coach for soccer. I would like to play in that style. Aggressive, trying to get scoring in, not playing defense. Yes, I know Spain was compared to Michigan. Play defense, dude. Play defense, low scoring, use your power, know that you have the talent to win. Okay, awesome. They won. The United States doesn't have that talent. We got to be like Oregon, dude. Flying around, high scoring, hoping everyone hypes us up every year, losing, right? But maybe one year. Who is the United States was A&M. No, yeah, I don't want us to be A&M, dude. I want us to be Oregon. I don't know who Oregon was on that list, even if they were included. But I'm saying I want United States to be high flying, hyped up, everyone loving it, everybody watching. They had Oregon as Portugal. High scoring, Ronaldo. He's there. He's not going to be there anymore, though. He's old. Replace that with the United States, baby. Make us be the high-flying, hyped-up team. Not the team that everyone's like, oh, we stink, like A&M. We're going to win? Probably not, dude. Have you seen us? What have we ever won? Got third place one time. I mean, they could find one. They were like, actually, we started playing this in like 1776 since we beat England. We won the first World Cup. Write that down. That's something we should do. That's like an Alabama move. Find an old tournament and claim that we won one. And then it would get respect then. That's my final thing. Anything else you want to add this week?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.